Namaste and welcome. I think I know all of you who are tuning in live right now, but my name's Keith, if we've not met. Welcome, thanks for tuning in. It's been a week. It's been like a 12 weeks, but it's been a week especially, and the things that keep bouncing around in my head right now are these words, force and resistance. And at the outset of those words, they seem pretty familiar. Like they both imply a certain amount of energy, power, and they both need to be applied to achieve what they're trying to achieve in this very live moment in our country is change. But there's a slight difference, at least for me, and maybe for you, in the idea of force and the idea of resistance. Force is the first thing that has to be applied for change, right? Because if there's no force applied, then everything is going to stay the way it is, right? Everything will be as it is until some force. Now, you can think of force as heat. You can think of force as action. You can think of force as practice. But some sort of force has to be applied to something, to world, being, body, in order for change to begin. But resistance is like a counter to force. It is as powerful, it is as full of energy, but it's a counter. It's the response to force, right? And they have to play a role together. So if force is the thing that is applied to begin the process, resistance is sometimes applied to keep us from going too far beyond the point of change or getting into the point of pure aggression or pure emotion where the action no longer serves. So they work in tandem, or in concert rather, to create the change that we seek. And if we put them into terms that take us back to the Yoga Sutra, we can think of force as abhyasa, this Sanskrit term for practice. And we can think of resistance as the vairagya. And those terms come out of Sutra 112 that says, abhyasa vairagyabhyam tanirodha, which deals with the stilling of the vrittis, which says that by practice and the letting go or the non-attachment, then we can still the vrittis. And the vrittis attach to the ego. And by applying practice and this non-attachment or this force and this then resistance, then change can start to happen, right? We apply the force, change begins. We keep the force, change continues. We apply the resistance, and then from there, there's a real potential for unimaginable change, right? Because by themselves or even in concert, they can be very powerful, but when they begin to really almost overlap with each other is when they become, the potential is great, right? And if we think about those qualities in the body, you can think of force around your belly, around your navel, the quality of fire. And you can think of resistance as being somewhere higher in the body, perhaps at the heart space or just below it. And when we breathe, those forces go into action. So that when we breathe in, you can think of them both traveling down. And when we breathe out, they move up. And in normal times, I don't remember what normal times are like anymore. When normal times, they probably keep their distance, and they keep their distance. And so they have a power, but it's muted. But when they begin to play off of each other, and that's the concert aspect, that's the call and response aspect in some ways, when they play off of each other, then their power, their tug, their pull, and their potential gets stronger. So I'm going to ask you to place your hands somewhere in those zones. And it doesn't really matter what shape, if your palms are towards you or down. We'll play with that in a moment. And I want you to have a comfortable seat. And when you breathe in, let both hands move down toward the earth a little bit. So you can imagine force and resistance both going deeper into the body. And when you exhale, let both hands, with that same distance, rise up a bit. And then continue that, but perhaps notice along the way, or even just do it along the way. Allow your hands, still traveling in the same direction, to just get a little closer to each other, so that your breath in moves both. But then when the work really begins, when it really becomes practice, when it really becomes useful force and useful resistance, direct the energies away from each other. So when you breathe in, your two hands pull apart. And when you exhale, you can have your palms facing each other so they come close to each other without touching. And then when you breathe in, they pull apart. You might feel them or direct them to pull further apart, and they get just that much closer. And then as you pull apart, feel an elasticity at the top of your breath in. And then as the exhale comes, feel the swing back of that, the response to the elasticity, so that you can feel the combustive potential of these two forces working in concert. So that when they pull apart, there is tension. And that tension is important. We have to have some tension also for change. If we want change, then it doesn't necessarily start with absolute still or absolute peace. There's tension, there's emotion, and they pull away from each other until eventually it feels as though they will smack into each other. And you could even let your hands smack together at the end of an exhale if that works for you. Do it a couple more times so that you feel this pull, and then you exhale and draw it in. Last two, breathing in. Get a little taller with that, and then draw it back in. And then one more time, draw it wide, 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 open it long, and then let it pull back in. And then let your hands drop away just for a moment. And you can take your dominant hand, and if you make a peace signal, or peace sign, peace signal, signal peace, sign of peace, and then draw your fingers together. So with this touching of your thumb, pinky, and ring, and the joining of your index and your middle, you get prana mudra. And if you turn that open, rest it on your knee. And that's the mudra of life force, right? The life force that allows us to expand out of our depths, out of our lower selves, and travel into our highest potential. And then take your opposite hand and rest it on your heart, so that you remember what the work is for and what the aim of change is about. It's to reside in a place of compassion, so that change, destructive though it may need to be, always has to come back to this potential for compassion, to this potential of empathy, to this inevitability of being in the place of love. And you can keep your hands in this position, in these shapes. And then breathe all the way in. Let your hands remain where they are. And I'll share a mantra with you. We can't sing it together, but you can take a listen. Kṛṣṇa Kālī, Kṛṣṇa Kālī, Kālī Kālī, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Radhe, Kṛṣṇa Radhe, Kālī Kālī, Kṛṣṇa Kālī, Kṛṣṇa Kālī, Kṛṣṇa Kālī, Kālī Kālī, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Radhe, Kṛṣṇa Radhe, Kālī Kālī, Kṛṣṇa Kālī, Kṛṣṇa Kālī, Kṛṣṇa Kālī, Kālī Kālī, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Radhe, Kṛṣṇa Radhe, Kālī Kālī, Kṛṣṇa Kālī, Kṛṣṇa Kālī, Kṛṣṇa Kālī, Kālī Kālī, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Radhe, Kṛṣṇa Radhe, Kālī Kālī, Kṛṣṇa Kālī, Kālī Kālī, Kṛṣṇa Kālī, Kālī Kālī, Kṛṣṇa Kālī. Release the shape that your fingers are in, and then bring both of your hands up to your heart. What can feel like opposing forces, the destructive, forceful quality of Kali, and the love-fueled change force of Krishna. But when they are working together, everything is possible. Let your hands drop away. And then you can reposition yourself and come to sit on your heels. And when you do that, just make sure that you've got a little bit of room around you so that you're not going to bump into anything. And then bring your hands up into the center of your heart. Notice how you sit and notice how the prayer feels at your heart. And then when you breathe in, cactus your arms open and spread wide across your chest. And then as you exhale, draw that back and in. And then breathe in and open that up. And then exhale, draw in, draw in. This time when you open it up, breathe in, same way, but then eagle your right arm underneath your left arm with the exhale. Use a breath in to lift, give a little tension. And then as you exhale, release, breathe in, and pull it back into the center of your heart. Do it that way again as you breathe in, open, bow wide, and then your left elbow underneath your right. When you breathe in, lift, and see if you can still drop your shoulder blades down some. So that as you're exhaling, you're undoing. And then breathe in and open up. Pull it back into the center of your heart. And then open it and add to it. As your right elbow comes under, exhale the same way. But then as you breathe in, rise up onto both knees. Use the exhale to take both elbows to the left. So there's some rotation in your trunk, but then look over your right shoulder. Come back into the center with a breath in, and then exhale, lower yourself back down to your seat. Open it up wide, breathe in, and then pull a prayer into the center of your heart. Open and breathe in. Left elbow underneath your right elbow as you breathe out. Lift up with your breath in. And then as you exhale, pull both elbows over to the right and look over your left shoulder. Inhale back to center, and then slowly exhale down. Wide cactus arms to breathe in, and then pull a prayer back into the center of your heart. Open it up, add on to it, breathe in. Right elbow under, exhale. When you're lifting, step your right foot into a short lunge so that when you exhale, move your elbows to the left, but look toward your right shoulder and your right knee. As you come back around with the breath in, unravel your left hand to the floor and exhale your right arm up into the sky. Breathe in to drop your hand and then return to your seat as you exhale. Pull in your prayer. Open up with your cactus arms, breathe in. Left elbow underneath as you hook it. When you're breathing in, lift and step with your left foot. Move your elbows to the right, but keep your left knee in line with your left ankle as you look over your left shoulder. Unravel back into the center to drop your hand and exhale some wider expanse into the twist. Drop your hand with your breath in and ease your way back to both knees. Pull in your prayer. One more time, open it up, breathing in. Right elbow under as you exhale. Lift with your breath in. With your right foot, you step. Rotate your trunk to the left, your elbows to the left, but gaze to the right. When you unravel and your left hand falls, curl your left toes under and lift your knee so that you take it into more of a lunge with your twist. Drop your hand, release your knee, and come back to both knees and have a seat. Add the prayer as you land. One last time, open it up, breathing in. And then your left elbow goes under. Rise and step with your left foot. Rotate your trunk to the right and look over your left shoulder. Unravel, plant your right hand, curl under your back toes, lift your right knee, and then twist. Release your hand and drop your knee onto both knees. Have one last seat and pull in your prayer. Give yourself an extra breath right here. And then release your hands on your way to all fours. Curl under your toes and move your hips up. You can move in the way that makes the most sense for you to loosen up some space. And then have a moment of stillness. Remembering the quality of force for change, but resisting the overdoing. No need to go further than necessary. And then slowly walk up toward your hands and fold over into yourself. Happily have a little bend in your knees. Shake out your head, tick-tock your spine. And then slowly ease yourself up. Find Tadasana. Stack up right over your tail, through your spine, all the way up to your head. Leave a little bit of space between your 2 feet because you're going to be stepping across, right? So exhale your arms down by your sides. And then when you breathe in, step your right foot over. So you go pinky toe to pinky toe for a moment. Pull a prayer right up into the center of your heart, but then rotate your trunk to the right and bring your prayer close to your right armpit. Come back to the middle and then line up your 2 feet. You can line them up with your eyes and release your arms. Step your left foot over. You can soften a little bit with your left knee, rock down to your left heel, pull in a prayer, and then rotate left. Move your prayer toward your left armpit. Come back through center, undo the cross, line up your toes, and release. Pull the prayer in as your right foot is stepping over so that you can exhale right into the twist. See if you can imagine your right hip still coming forward. Come back, undo, and release. Bring up the prayer, cross over your left foot, line up your baby toe to your baby toe, and then twist to the left. Come back through center, line it all up, and release Tadasana. Pull in your prayer, your right foot goes across, rotate. When you're undoing it, arms to the sky, take your right leg back for a high lunge. Breathe all the way in. Exhale your hands down and step your way backward for downward facing dog. Roll and ripple out long for plank pose. Bend at your elbows and lower. Flip your toes, little cobra. And then back you go over your toes, downward facing dog. Move your right foot to the front with a breath in, and your right arm to the sky as you exhale for your twist. Inhale your right fingers a little bit more toward the front of your mat. Step forward with your left toes and hook your right elbow underneath your left. Rise up with eagle arms. Breathe in. And release your arms, Tadasana. Bring in your prayer. Your left foot comes across. And then exhale, turn to the left. As you undo, high lunge to the back. And then use your exhale to drop your hands and move your way into downward facing dog. Roll out long, press back through your heels, and then bend your elbows. You can lower all the way down. Little cobra, breathing in. And then downward facing dog. Inhale your left foot to the front. Exhale your left arm to the sky. Reach forward with your left fingers and then step up. Hook your left elbow underneath your right and rise up and release. Again, as the prayer comes in, your right foot goes across, twist over to the right side. High lunge with your right toes going to the back. Exhale your hands down by your front foot. Move out long into plank pose with your breath in. And then you can lower all the way or part of the way. Flip your toes and open up. And then back you go, downward facing dog. Move your right foot forward and exhale your right arm into the sky. Reach to the front, step your feet together, and then hook your right elbow underneath your left. Rise on up. And release your arms. Your left foot goes across with a prayer. Rotate left. And then step to the back, high lunge. Empty your hands on your way out to downward facing dog. Stretch out long. Hug your navel in. Keep your chest broad as you lower. Open up your chest. And downward dog. Move your left foot to the front. Exhale into your twist. Reach your left fingers forward. Step your feet in. Left elbow underneath your right. And then rise on up. Release. Last time. Take your right foot over. Prayer. Go right. Undo it for a high lunge. Right into Chaturanga Dandasana. If you're skipping that, happily leave it out. Over your toes, upward facing. And downward facing. Soften your knees, see your hands, and you can step or jump to the front. Come to your fingertips. Exhale into yourself. Right here, right elbow underneath your left. And then release. One last time with your left foot, step across. Pray. and rotate left. With your left foot to the back, high lunge. Empty on your way through the vinyasa of chaturanga, urdhva mukha, and adho mukha. Soften your knees and see your hands. Make your way to the front. Onto your fingertips and fold. Left elbow under as you rise up. And release your arms. Pause for a moment. On the other side of force and on the other side of resistance, on the other side of their working in concert, always has to be the moment to let everything sink. Right? To not rush away from the action, not rush away or rush into the next, but to pause. One last breath here. When you inhale, Utkatasana, and then exhale, fold over and touch the ground. Lean into your hands, and you can step or jump backward, chaturanga. Over your toes, upward facing. And downward facing. Give yourself a moment right here. Send your hips up. Reach deep with your hands. Extend the length of your legs. When you breathe in, move your right foot forward and ground your back heel so that you can exhale and cartwheel up into warrior two. Pause there. And then let your right elbow hook underneath your left elbow. Once you're there, both elbows go toward your left shoulder, your left hip, your left toes, but continue to look over your right shoulder. So you see where the front of your mat is. Right from there, undo your arms and breathe all the way in. Cartwheel your hands down to the ground. Step into plank. Hover chaturanga over your toes and downward facing. Inhale your left foot up to the front. Seal your back heel and cartwheel up with your exhale, Virabhadrasana 2. Send your gaze over your left fingers and then let your arms fall. Hook your left elbow underneath your right. Track both elbows to the back of your mat, but continue to look toward the front. Undo, feel the release. Breathe in, and then cartwheel your hands down. Step through your vinyasa. You can leave it out. You can go right into down dog. Meeting up when your hips are high in down dog. Inhale your right foot up to the front. Drop your back heel. Cartwheel up for warrior two. Right elbow underneath your left elbow. And then pull them both to the back. Look over your right shoulder. When you undo your arms, lengthen through your right leg and reach forward. Let your right fingers descend and then grow your left arm out of that. Making your way into triangle. Firm up through your back leg. See the ground, bend your knee, rise up for warrior two, and then cartwheel your hands down. Step your way back and lower yourself. Flip over your toes and meet back at downward dog. Inhale your left foot up to the front. Drop your heel. Warrior two. Hook your right elbow under and then pull toward your right shoulder. Look over your left. Unravel. That's the other side of it all, to feel the freedom. Reach, descend, and turn open. Belly, chest, and then your gaze. Press strong through your back leg. Look down for balance as you bend your left knee to rise up. Warrior two. Cartwheel down and step back. Lower if you like. Over your toes. Back to down dog. Inhale your right foot to the front. Drop your heel. Cartwheel up into your exhale. Hook your left elbow under. Pull your arms toward the back of your mat. When you undo it, have the length again, but then bend your right knee to drop your right fingers and reach with your left arm for side angle. Keep extending from your fingertips to your ankle. Sweep your left fingers low, shift your weight, move your right fingers up and to the right, re-articulate your opening for Ardha Chandrasana. Give some life to the lifted spaces between your toes, and then see the ground. Bend your knee to reach back, drop your heel, tip all the way back for peaceful. Cartwheel down and move through whatever you need to do to get back to down dog. One person's force and one person's resistance will not look the same as another. Your left foot forward. Exhale up into warrior two. Move your left elbow under, and then draw that back. Undo, get long, and then bend, and turn it into side angle. Rotate some space into your armpit. And so pull deeper with your left hip crease. You can gaze down on your way forward. Ardha Chandra. And then soften. And tip your way back for peaceful. Cartwheel down. And move through. Before meeting back up at down dog. And give yourself a couple extra breaths right here. Longer through your reach. Shake out through your head. And give yourself one last breath here. And then slide your right foot up to the front. Drop into your back heel. Cartwheel up for your final warrior two here. Hook your right elbow under. And then take both arms toward the back. Look over your right shoulder. Lengthen as you open. Bend, and now drop your right arm inside. Turn open across your chest. And then let your left arm flip so you close your shoulder. Drop your arm behind you. And then your two hands can meet up. You find a grip, or take hold of your left wrist. Open up through your chest. Not too much and not too little. Find the balance, find the concert. And then release your hands. Step back for plank and lower down. Flip your toes. Meet back up at down dog. Move your left foot up to the front, drop into your back heel, and cartwheel up for warrior two. Take your left elbow under. Find the pull. And then release and open, spacious, before you bend, shift, and drop your left hand. Turn open, and then flip so your thumb rotates, your shoulder closes. Take your hand behind you if you like, and then your left hand can come under to meet. Turn open again at your heart. And then slowly release. Step out and lower. Meet back up. Down dog. Give yourself the exhale. Enjoy the inhale. One last breath. And then as you're breathing in, shift toward plank, but draw your right knee toward your thumbs. Take that back to down dog. Use the inhale. Shift, and your left knee comes. And then back. Shift toward plank with your right knee. And then snake your right leg around your left leg. Bend both knees, eagle legs. Undo into a step to the front. And then out to downward facing dog. Again, shift, your left knee comes. Wrap around the front. Bend both knees. Lunge up to the front. And then step back. Shift with your right knee coming. And wrap around. Step to the front and drop your back heel, arms up, warrior one. Reach without back bending. Press without hyper opening. One last breath. And then both hands down by your right foot. Step your left leg behind your right, pinky toe to pinky toe. Go up onto the ball of your right foot, bend both knees, so that when you rise up, you have a modified eagle. Right elbow under. Sink down. And give yourself another breath. And then feel your hip crease going further in. Drop into your right heel. Release your hands. Move your left foot into a shorter stance. Both legs get long. Pause. Move your left hand over by your right foot. Your right hand onto your hip. And then revolve your triangle. Breathe all the way across your arms. Keep firming up through your back leg. Add the effort to draw into your center, but not so much that you lock down your neck. Hands down. Soften. Step your way back and lower down. Open up and meet together, down dog. Shift with your left knee. Eagle your left leg around the front. Bend both knees. Inhale into warrior one as you step, ground, and lift. Pause here. Find some room in your armpits. And then both hands down by your front foot. Cross your right leg behind. Fold in. And then rock onto the ball of your left foot. Bend both knees. Left elbow underneath your right. So you get to have both feet on the floor in this early version of eagle. Breathe all the way in. Sink with the exhale. Move your hip creases back. Drop your left heel. Drop both hands. Step your right foot back to the right, but a shallower stance. Pause to find some length in your chest. And move your right hand closer to your foot. Could be inside, could be outside. Begin to revolve. And open up your left arm. Breathe all the way in. Extend through your right arm to find more room in your upper arm. And then both hands down. Deepen your stance. Move a vinyasa through your body. Or go right into down dog. Meeting up. Inhale forward with your right knee coming close to your face. Eagle your legs. You can hook your toes behind your left leg. Step up. Virabhadrasana 1. Take both hands down by your front foot and cross your left leg over. Bend both knees so as you rise up, you can float your right toes and hook around behind. Your right arm can go under. Find more bend to your knees. Pause for a moment. Undo your arms and make a prayer. Look down for balance and hook your left elbow outside your right knee. So that's the leg on top. And then hug your navel out of the way and sink a little deeper. Notice your hips, and they're going to want to swing out wide to the right. So draw back into the center. One last breath. And then undo your hands, undo your right foot, step onto your right foot. Pause here. Move your left hand forward so that when you undo your left leg, you can begin to lengthen and reach to revolve your Ardha. And then gaze down, drop your hand, step back, down dog, plank out long, hover, open, meet back up at down dog. Inhale your left knee forward towards your nose, wrap around, you can hook, step up, ground your heel, Virabhadrasana 1. And then both hands down, so you can cross your right leg behind, make some room, fold in, so that as you bend, your left toes can float, left leg over, and your left arm under, Garudasana. Sink a bit deeper. Undo your hands into a prayer. Look at your left knee and hook your right elbow to the outside of it. Keep gazing down for stability, but draw your belly in so that you can deepen the rotation at your middle. Give yourself another breath. And then undo, toes, hands, drop. And then your right hand can go forward so that your right leg can float. Revolve. You're drawing your left hip crease deeper. Open your left arm up. Reach with your lifted leg. And then release. And step down dog. Roll and ripple out long. Bend and hover. Flip your toes. And meet back at down dog. Move your right foot forward. Wrap around. And then step into warrior 1. Right here, right elbow under. Reach up, sink in. Start to roll to the ball of your back foot. Undo your prayer, or undo to a prayer, to revolve. You can use your right hand right on the top of your leg to deepen. and then open up. So experiment here for a moment, taking your right arm behind you. And perhaps your left hand can soften, and notice your chest. So there is some flexion in your spine to get your left fingers under. And then come back to more of a neutral length in your spine. Release your arms and step back just into down dog. And just that much on the other side. Shift forward with your left knee, wrap around, and then step. Start with warrior one. Move your left elbow under. And then from there, a ball of your back foot and a prayer. So you can begin to hook across with your right elbow, deepen, drop your right hand, and take your left arm up. And then you can experiment, taking your left arm behind you. See if your right arm is willing to go underneath that same flexion, and then the length. And then undo, and step back, downward dog. And then drop to your knees for a moment. So let's play with that and add the eagle shape while you've got the bind. So same idea, and the thing I need to say about that is hips and knees. So when you're bound and we take the step, pay attention to how you move your hips and your knees so that you're not getting into too much forcing the action, but you're also not in just resistant mode, right? So not falling back into the place of change is not possible. Okay, so start in downward facing dog. Move forward, your right knee comes close. Wrap your right leg. Step to a warrior one. Add your right elbow under. So that's all familiar territory. Undo, take the prayer. If you took it into the bind, you can revisit that. And if that's enough, stop there. Wrap around if you like. You can take the full bind. But then step to the front with your left foot. Go a little bit shorter. Happily stop. And then you can come up to stand, bringing your right leg along with you. Another great place to stop. Soften if you like, and then your right leg is going to bend over the top of your left. Bend your standing leg and allow both knees to stay bent and your hips to go a little right as you hook your right toes behind. Slowly undo. Step your right foot down. Curtsy your left leg behind you. And have a seat for the twist. Breathe all the way in. And all the way out. One last breath. And then slowly unravel and undo and take the counter twist over to the left side. When you let go of that, come back to center. Come to all fours and then downward facing dog. Try that on the other side so that your left knee pulls up wraps around. Step forward. Start with warrior one. Take your right elbow under. And then as you rotate, you can hook your right elbow and tuck your left arm behind you. Your hips stay, but you can flex your spine to get into the bind. Happily stay, or step in with your right foot. Stay here if you like, and then slowly, if you're moving on, your left leg comes up with you. Happily stay, or bend your standing leg. As you cross over the top, your two hips moved left of center, so as you can get your left toes behind your standing leg. And then slowly undo, step onto your left foot, curtsy behind, and then slowly ease down. Revolving left. Your gaze doesn't have to go very far. Give yourself one more exhale here. And then undo and counter twist over to the right side. Before you shift and step all fours. And then drop your hips back to your heels and pause for a moment. Might be a good time to do this with your arms. Okay, we're going to take that just one possible step further. Right? So taking that into an arm balance. So taking some of those same crisscrosses and movements through the body. I'll face you for a moment so that you can get the mirror image of it. Stand on both feet. And you can watch this one time if you like. I'm going to cross my left leg around behind me. So I have a bit of a curtsy. And then I'll walk my hands over to this open space on the left. In there, my belly has to come under, so I can crouch down. And this is a great stopping place. I'm going to make sure I feel my right elbow touching my outer left leg, so that then my left hand can reach underneath my front heel here. There's my left hand, my right foot. And then from there, I let my leg extend. So that's why the elbow has to support my leg. Flexing through my right foot, but pointing through my left toes to float the shape. And then curl back into myself, undo, and step onto both feet. So that whole thing to the other side. I'm going to cross behind with my right leg and crouch down. And walk over with both hands to this open space over on the right. So I want to make sure that my left elbow really can hook onto the outside of my right leg. So that then when I take my opposite hand down, I can drop my right elbow, palm underneath my left foot, make sure that I can feel the connection between my outer leg and my elbow. So my left elbow, right leg. And then press the ground with my left hand. And then soften and undo. Have a seat for a moment on your heels. And then we'll do it one more time. Okay, so if you want to just see it, you can always access it later through Laughing Lotus or through YouTube. Let me do it one more time. I cross behind with my left leg, sink. Both hands over to the left. So it almost feels like I was going to do like a side crow here. And I'm going to take my left hand, palm up, underneath my right foot. Press down to the ground with my right palm so that I can extend and float. And then soften. Undo. Step. And then this time I'll cross behind with my right leg. Crouch. And walk both hands over to the right. Hunker in so that I can really connect my left arm to the outside of my right leg. Palm up with my right hand. Palm down with my left. Create the shelf. Extend. And float. And soften. Undo. And then take a moment to sit back on your heels. You can sit, or a child's pose can come into this moment. Breathing all the way in and all the way out. Okay, one last breath here. Great. Move your way back a little bit into the middle of your mat. So the option is to go upside down. If you're close to a wall, you can always use a wall. It's going to look like a combo of forearm stand and headstand. I'm not actually going to put my head on the ground. It's more of a headless headstand in the vein of a forearm stand. So when I set it up, I interlace my fingers as if I'm going to do a headstand. You use the same amount of effort that I would to do a headstand. I'm not going to put my head down. Lengthen through your legs and pause here. Good place for stopping. You can drop your gaze back to your toes, and this is another place you can stop. So you really get to experience the work, effort, force of pressing the ground down to keep your head from crashing down. So if that's the place that you want to be, awesome. If you're moving on, start in that same place, but look at your hands. Lift a leg, and then it's a soft hop. And then once you've hopped, your gaze might move back to where your toes were, but your head still floats. So that you can begin to eagle your legs and press. So there's the force, and then the resistance happens somewhere in your middle, keeping you aloft. You can come down or undo and redo your eagle legs the other way. Make sure you undo your legs, see the ground, and then release. Big exhale. Give yourself a couple more breaths there. And then set it up one last time. Elbows down, interlace your fingers, curl your toes, lengthen. See your feet so you get the length in your neck. If you're going on, look forward, raise a leg. Inhale to prepare, and then exhale a little hop. Not so much of a hop that it turns into a flip. And then as your legs go up, an eagle, your gaze can shift toward the back of your mat so that your crown floats. And then change. If ever you feel yourself going down, undo your legs first. Come to have a seat. And pause. Couple breaths here. And hopefully you can feel this concert action of force and resistance. Force to actually begin to move upside down, and the resistance to not go so far that it turns into throwing or like unbridled force or uncontrolled action. Having those two forces to find the balance in order to be in the space of being upside down. And then come to all fours. And it's nice, I think, if you shift toward the back of your mat for this, so you can feel your curled under toes touching the back line of your mat. It just kind of tells you that your feet are in line with each other. And start on all fours. And just see where your wrists are. And when you are ready, put your elbows where your wrists just were. And pause there to notice the sink and your shoulders coming up by your ears, and press the ground. Create some room. And then from there, one hand to your jaw, cheek line, and the other hand. And there's still action so that you're not sinking the weight into your hands. Create the first level of opening. And then drop one hand flat, so kind of where it was a moment ago. And then shift your elbow almost to that same space. Line up your two elbows. And then again, hand, hand. And then there's a little bit more length in your spine and more space in between your ribs. You can feel the back bend taking more shape. But notice your toes and keep anchoring into that line. And then drop a hand. Shift not quite as far with an elbow. And then the other one. Hand, hand. And then encourage your ribs toward the ground. All without crunching in your low back. And then one hand, other hand, ribs down. Extend your arms out. So anahatasana, but really feeling the landing point lower on the body. So below your heart, in your lower ribs. Breathing all the way in. All the way out. One more breath. And then one hand back, the other hand back. Press the ground. All fours. You can shift back into a more natural place in your mat. Stack up right over your wrists with your shoulders. Spread some space across your shoulder blades. And then move to downward facing dog. Pause here. And then with your breath in, step your right foot up to the front of your mat. Bend your right knee. And then let your left knee come down. So you can always flip the edge of your mat and add some padding, but then begin to release your back toes. Keep your right hand up on top of your right knee and allow your body to rotate a little bit left And when you're doing that, roll your left hip forward. So you find perhaps some extra room in the front side of your hip. And then from there, take your weight forward some, so toward the front of your mat, and begin to bend your left knee so that you can catch the big toe side of your left foot and then re-sink. Your right hand can still grip on top of your knee. If it feels crowded, you can always heel toe your right foot a little bit to the right. Sink in, and then begin to take more of a forward-facing orientation with your heart. Great place to stop. Or you can begin to move your left hand to the opposite side, the pinky side of your ankle. Flex your left foot so that your palm up across the top of your foot. So your palm is going up, your sole is going up. Pause here. You can stay like this. You'll find more space in your shoulder here, but try not to overdo it. And then keep the grip around the shape of your foot there, so that as you bend your elbow and you bend your knee, you can tip back, give more point to your ankle, and then allow your grip, if it flips, to flip. Use your hand on your knee for stability. Soften out of Ekapada Rajakapotasana 2 and step your way out for downward dog. And then other side, so your left foot can shift up. Bend your left knee, so it will go beyond your ankle a little bit, and then your knee can fall behind. Pad your right knee as needed, point through your back toes, and then rotate a little bit through your chest without trying to open at your right hip. Your right hip stays where it is, but you rotate so you can drop some natural gravity into your hip. And then from there, when your right hand goes back, you can take hold of the big toe side of your foot and re-sink. Great place for stopping. You can begin to roll your chest forward, happily stay, or your right hand can shift to the pinky side of your ankle, palm up still. You can even flex your right foot some, so when you grip, there's a lot more room from your breastbone out to your shoulder. Begin to sink, bend your elbow, bend your knee. If your grip flips, Ekapada Rajakapotasana 2. And then slowly release. And then make your way right from there onto your back. Set it up so you've got the soles of your feet flat to the floor. And you can graze the backside of your heel with the tips of your fingers. Tuck your shoulder blades a little closer to your spine and use that to open up your chest. When you're ready, place your hands on the floor next to your head. Recommit your elbows to moving inward. And then with your breath in, begin to lift your hips. Pause. Take out some of the squeeze in your bum. And then press into your hands with your next breath in. Chin to your chest. And ease yourself down. Roll your wrists around. And then you can come at that one more time. You can smooth it out. Place your hands. And then with your breath in, Start with your hips going up and keep going. Press into your hands. Under your jaw. Chin into your chest. And then ease yourself down. Windshield wiper your knees a bit. Pause in the middle. Stick your legs up. Give them a little shake, a good jiggle. Move your left leg away some, your right leg over. You can eagle your legs and then move them over to the left side. Happily keep your gaze in the center or let it move over to the right side. And then when you come back through center, undo your legs. Give them a little shake out again. Move your right leg away, your left leg over. Eagle your legs. Keep your knees in close to your body as you move them over. Think about where your left shoulder is and move it to the ground. Release in that direction. So even if your knees float, as long as you're not forcing them down at the detriment of your shoulder, and then come back through the middle. Give your legs one more shake. And then hug your legs in close and rock up. Once you're up, extend your legs out long. And then start by bending your right knee. So the sole of your right foot comes into your leg. Sit on both sitting bones, rotate your left leg in so it's not flopping out. And then turn to your right and rotate. Notice your left sitting bone wanting to come off the ground here. Sink into it. And there can just be a little tip of your gaze in the direction of the twist. And then when you release it, counter twist it by reaching with your right hand toward your left foot and folding toward your left leg. And then both hands might come close to your foot. Drop through your right shoulder and then extend over your leg a bit more. And then ease yourself up. Extend your right leg and bring the sole of your left foot in. Feel both sitting bones and begin to turn to your left, crossing over with your right hand, but without pulling. So there's that conversation. Reach across without feeling the need to reach and force into the twist. Find a little bit more length through your spine. And then counter, face your right leg, reach with your left hand, hinge, and then you can add your right hand, drop your left shoulder. Extend through your spine. Notice where it wants to flex into your body and apply a little bit of the force so that you resist the old habit. And then slowly up. And then both legs long and wide. So when you sit, this might be the work for you, finding a place to sit, your legs long, so you're dealing with your hamstrings and your back and the muscles that support your spine. So if this is enough, here, here, here is great. If you're beginning to come forward, you can tip down to your elbows to start. Reawaken the space across your chest. And then you might walk your hands out. And let your head start to get closer to the ground. A little bit more length through your spine so that it doesn't turn into a roundness, but some openness to gaze forward. And walk yourself in. And narrow your legs toward each other. Happily have a little bend in your knees, sit tall. Again, great place to be. You can hinge at your hips and take hold of your outer feet. Know where to stop for yourself. Right? You stop when it turns into too much force or aggression. You can bend your elbows, reopen your chest. And then you might fold over a bit deeper. Let your head have some weight and some release. Exhale with some sound. And then slowly up to sit. Take your hands behind you, drop your soles in front, roll your chest open. You can stop right there, or do a little mini lift to open up your front. And then slowly come down. And you can begin to roll down onto your back and take rest there. Let yourself sink into the ground. Let your body get heavy. Om jayanti mangala Kālī bhadrakālī kapalini durga kshama śivā svāhā svadha namo'stu te. Om jayanti mangala Kālī bhadrakālī kapalini durga kshama śivā svāhā svadha namo'stu te. svadha, svadha, namo'stu te, mata, 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 Kālī, mata, 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 Kālī. Jayanti mangala Kālī, bhadrakālī kapalini, durga kshama śivā, svāhā, svadha, namo'stu te, svāhā, svadha, namo'stu te, rupam dehi, jayam dehi, yasho dehi, dvisho jayi, rupam dehi, jayam dehi, yasho dehi, dvisho jayi, jayanti mangala Kālī, bhadrakālī kapalini, durga kshama śivā, svāhā, svadha, namo'stu te, svāhā, svadha, namo'stu te, svāhā, svadha, namo'stu te. Sink in a little bit deeper to the space you're in and allow your breath to become shallow. A real sense of letting go, relinquishing, holding on to nothing, not even the outcome. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room? Just like the moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Words from Maya Angelou. We apply force and we apply resistance to our own life, to our inner life and our outer life. But when we artfully, skillfully, intelligently use force and resistance through our life, it's not just we who benefit. We encourage and aid each other in being better. We lift each other up. Change only comes, ascension only happens when we apply the action and when we temper the action with the kind of resistance that refines the force. Then this potential is limitless. My ancestors never could have imagined a me that is me, not even in their wildest dreams. And yet, here I am. Same could be said for your ancestors, for those who've come before us. And we respect and honor what they have done by continuing to do as they did, to be a force of change, to resist going back to someone else's idea of who we are, who we're supposed to be, what we can achieve. That is how we pay it back. That is how we pay it forward. That is how we honor this life that we've been given. If you're on your back, start to roll to your side for a moment. Take some time to find your way up to sit. And then bring both hands into the center of your heart. We are one life, and we are one light, and we are one love. It's with gratitude, with joy, that we celebrate the light of each other, and we bow to it. Peace be with you, blessings upon you. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you for tuning in today. I didn't mention it at the beginning, but this is Love Saves the Day for Laughing Lotus in San Francisco. And that means that all the proceeds that I received from this class today will be given directly to an organization called Campaign Zero. And their mission is to find ways, discover information, and come up with strategies to change policing in America, to return to, or perhaps create for the first time, a mission for policing in America that does not have built into it the physical punishment, the ways of the old times in this country, to, instead of working against the community, to work with the community, to be a part of the community. So you can check them out online, Campaign Zero, but all the proceeds from today will be going to that organization. So I thank you for that contribution.